welcome back to the Fake Philosophers. You know, we've got a great show for you this week, or today. We got some. I got another. This episode not brought to you by, actually.
Let's start with that.
I will start with that. Thank you for the permission. This one goes out to Goettl Air Conditioning. Now, I don't know if we've done
again. Yes.
Again, it's going out to Goettl again because, damn it, they have another commercial out, and it's just awesome. So I would get the recording, and if we can in post put it up, that'd be great. But just for the sake of brevity, I'll say this is essentially the commercial. So this, it opens with these two guys talking. It's a radio ad. And the one guy's in this very fake Southern accent, but he's going, the guy says to the guy, hey, what are you working on there? He's like, oh, this is my new concept. It's a little plane that flies over the house, and it looks down with x-rays into your plumbing, finds the clog, and shoots a wire down and takes the clog out of the drain. And the guy's like, wow, that's really impressive. So we can do this? And the guy's like, no, but if you do have a plumbing issue, call us and we'll come out and snake your drain. And that was essentially the commercial. And then it goes into the...
So they're doing plumbing now.
Yeah, it was
air conditioning.
It was, well, it's Goettl air conditioning, but they also do plumbing and shit. It's a whole thing. Actually, I'm pretty sure it was Goettl. But
So it's funny you mentioned Goettl, because today, while I was driving home, for the first time, I actually saw a Goettl van. And I tried to get a photo of it because it's like the Goettl logo, and then like a picture of like a kid. It was like a fucking helmet on. It was goofy as shit. And so I tried.
You're messing with me, right? You're messing with me.
No, 100%.
Okay.
This happened today.
Did I send this in the messenger? Because this literally happened to me a few days ago.
Did it?
Okay, go ahead.
No,
go ahead.
I
Continue.
swear to God.
I'll tell mine. You go ahead.
Well, yeah, so I saw the van on the freeway, and it was kind of near the 57 where the 210 kind of does the curve around the hill. So I was kind of distracted for driving. My safety was in peril. But no, I was trying to get the photo, and I ended up I didn't get the fucking photo because I was gonna send it in the chat like these motherfuckers, because it was the goofiest looking fucking photo of the kid on the. So you saw it too.
No, yes. So This happened on Tuesday or Wednesday of this week. I'm at my parents' house, and across the street, one of their across the street neighbors parks a Goettl van, to which I assumed was to work on the house. Nope, turns out one of the residents works for Goettl, and he was parking a service van in the driveway. So this whole time, I don't know if I ever just didn't notice or if it was brand new or what, but I start freaking out, and I took a picture of it from my parents' living room, and I'll send it to you guys later. It's pretty. Go ahead.
Goettl the Swift of like air conditioning?
Well, Danny, have you never heard of Goettl?
No.
He doesn't listen to he doesn't listen to AM radio. How could he?
Or FM radio? No. So Goettl, we've bitched about Goettl a few times on the show.
Goettl and Service Champions is the other one. That's just terrible.
Sure. I can't speak to Goettl's like quality of work.
That's not what this is about. That's not what this is
about.
Not
what it's about. Danny, their commercials, like hard sells versus soft sells?
Yeah.
So it's a soft sell, but it's like annoying. Like
I know all about soft sells because of Mitch, by the way.
Sure.
Wait, what?
I know all about soft sells because of you.
What? Why? What did I do?
One of the characters the character you played in.
Oh yeah. How to shove down your throat with a soft sell. Wow.
Well, all right.
Sorry. Continue. Go ahead. Yeah.
No. So I listened to one of our episodes where we talked about this recently, Mitch, and I said something and you kind of laughed at it, where it's like the owner of this company, I forgot his name. We know so much about his life.
Yeah.
That we shouldn't know. Like, I still know his dog's name is Sadie. I know that he grew up working alongside his father, who worked for Goettl, which is why he wanted to buy. See, why do I know this?
Yeah.
Because his commercials are like 2 minutes long. It's a monologue over like this small little kind of bass guitar riff, and it's like 2 minutes long, and they repeat themselves. I don't listen to FM radio that much anymore, but when I did, it would be like every 5 minutes.
Jesus.
You hear this guy's voice, and it's awful. And so today, the first time I saw the van, and we should bring Mitch, that neighbor. We should bring him on and ask him. Have you met this guy? Yeah.
Just purely interview just their work and their like ethics, the history of the company, and never mention the ads once, just to give them some because I feel like at this point they need some positive advertising because holy shit. I mean,
yeah. Well, because I'm actually kind of curious. I remember there was a commercial. Granted, it was like 3 years ago when I heard it, but the guy, the owner, was talking, and he said every job these guys go out on, they take 7 photos, and they send it to me for approval.
Yeah.
And I know this company is not just like local; it's a pretty big company.
Right.
And so I would love to ask your neighbor: do you send these photos to him?
Do
you even
just bullshit?
Do you even take these photos? Have you even met this man?
See, having just in the small amount of service, we'll call them mobile service technicians, guys who just travel around in their work, and you know, from the few I've met, some in my field, some in others, none of them work that hard. Just
they do what they got to do. 100%. No, they do what they have to do. What did you call me for? I want my drain snaked. I'm snaking your drain, and I'm fucking leaving.
Oh man, we're border on libel here, but no, and here's the thing too, is like every time I do these ads, it's either for Service Champions or Goettl. I get confused as to which one was it. Was it Goettl or Service Champions that did that commercial? But I'm pretty sure the dude talking about his new technology of a plane that flies in the air and can snake your drain from above, and then it's like, wow, we could really do that in the commercial. Wow, can we really do that? No. But if you call us, we'll come out and snake your drain or whatever for, you know. But.
That sounds like a Goettl commercial because I remember the Southern Voice guy.
Okay.
I remember him.
That's what, yeah.
Because he started creating fucking characters. It was the Southern Voice guy, then there was like another, it was, anyway.
Yeah, but anyway, thank you. Not brought to you by.
Not brought to you. I will never call Goettl.
Today's show not brought to you by Anheuser-Busch.
We can, that's another one, but that's for another
that's
time.
Different. See, Anheuser-Busch has some amazing commercials. That's
the
problem.
Dude, their Super Bowl commercials are some of the best.
So
that's saying so.
So we can't really criticize them about the commercials because their commercials are pretty fire. I'll give them that. Except for there was one or two that I could roast pretty hard, but we'll save that.
Was it the one where Kendall gives a beer to the cop at
that
the
was Pepsi.
the picket line?
Fuck you. I knew.
No, that was A-Train.
Oh, A-Train. No, they did a commercial. Fuck it, we'll talk about it. They did a commercial.
Fuck it, let's talk.
Fuck it. We got time to kill. Let's do it.
So no, actually, one of the feedbacks I got from a previous episode is we were talking, and I pretty much said like, "Fuck Anheuser-Busch, they won't get a dime of my money outside the bar." And somebody actually told me like, "I'm very curious to know why you don't like them." And this is one of the reasons.
Give the people what they want.
No, so they did a commercial. I forgot when this was. It was probably around 2014 or 15, if I'm guessing. They did a commercial where it was one of those like kind of fast-paced, quick cuts commercial, kind of like a rock beat. And I forgot if it was a voiceover or if it was text, but it's pretty much like, I'm paraphrasing, "Hey, all you faggot pussies out there, drink your craft beer, your pumpkin peach bullshit. We're drinking Budweiser. Budweiser's for men." I'm paraphrasing, obviously. They didn't use this language. Yeah. But it was pretty much like, the quote I think was, "Keep your pumpkin peach ale. I want the yellow suds." It was something like that. And it was very much like throwing in like, fuck craft beer. Which is all fine and dandy if that's where you stand. But within like a month of that commercial being released, Mitch, I'm not sure if you're aware. Danny, you probably know. Goose Island Brewing out of Chicago releases an ad with the same tempo, same kind of upbeat feel, but it was very much like fresh ingredients, craft beer, small company. Goose Island is owned by Anheuser-Busch. So one week they're releasing "fuck all you craft breweries, all you microbreweries," and then like a week or two later they release a like local beer, locally sourced, small business, and And obviously the people in the industry
it.
were like, what the fuck
No,
this
okay,
company?
So here's the thing. People in the industry were like that. Anheuser-Busch, whoever their marketing and demographics people are, fucking geniuses.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that.
I'm not
Because
going to say that. Like, yeah.
They are playing both sides against the middle. They are, because they know the demographic that drinks Budweiser.
Mm-hmm.
Primarily, fucking idiots, and they're not going to have the the mental capacity to be like, well shit, doesn't Anheuser-Busch own Goose Island?
Mike, I dare you to take a poll at your bar and see what percentage of regulars know that Goose Island is owned by Budweiser. I don't know how you would phrase that, but I
could tell you right now what it is. Probably 2%.
2%.
There
yeah.
you go. I'm just saying.
No, so
so
don't get me wrong. I understand the vast majority of the country will watch those two commercials and not see the irony at all.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Because they are not aware. I understand that. But as somebody in the industry, I was like, fuck that company.
You and every craft brewery out there. How do you think the owner of like Claremont Craft or No Clue Brew is sitting at home watching that thinking, what? Oh,
dude,
my God.
Oh, they're
So
probably
what was-
laughing their asses off and going,
No,
these guys are fucking geniuses.
So 100%. So Ninkasi Brewing, which is in Oregon, actually like shot their own little commercial making fun of it. And then a lot of small breweries made pumpkin peach ale as a joke. Like a lot of breweries did it. I think one actually called it the Anheuser-Busch pumpkin peach ale, but they spelled it differently. Yeah.
So cool.
Anyway,
That's hilarious.
not brought to you by Anheuser-Busch too.
Today's show also not
No,
brought
man,
to you by Anheuser-Busch.
I still stand by my thing because that's genius. That's some
Oh, it
genius
is.
marketing.
It's genius.
I
gonna go
100%
buy-
will agree.
See, this is why at the last 4th of July, not this latest 4th of July, but the 4th of July before, I showed up with a 12-pack of Budweiser because I was like, you know what? That's fucking
America.
For America. Look, the box is red, white, and blue. The cans are red, white, and blue.
Yeah,
But we're owned by a European company.
It's true. It's true.
I was just flipping the camera.
there was a meme last year on 4th of July I saw that said, I'm so American I piss red, white, and blue. My doctor told me it was colon cancer, but I told him to shut his commie mouth.
I saw that one.
And, it's a good one. Anyway, yeah. So anyway, do we roll? Do we just jump right into it now, or?
Oh,
Yeah,
we've
let's jump
been
right
into
into
it for like the last 15 minutes, I want to say here. I kind of wanted to talk about something that like kind of hit me hard today. I got hit in the head with a rock. No, I'm just kidding.
Sorry.
So let's talk about Dwayne Johnson.
Let's talk about Dwayne Johnson. He hit me.
Pros and cons.
Today. Yeah. No, so I read an article today. Apparently, one of my my heroes, one of my icons, Steve Martin, is retiring.
No.
After
from-
60
I
years.
thought
of
you were about to
business.
say he died, and I was going to start
No,
crying.
no. I would be a lot more
Maybe not crying, but I'd...
hilarious.
Retiring from what?
Acting, or just the industry in general.
Oh, okay.
He's done.
He's going dark.
He's going dark.
Good.
Yeah.
See, I thought you were gonna say that you heard that Salman Rushdie got stabbed.
Oh no, I did.
today,
I did see that too.
I was like, I thought you were like, oh, okay, let's talk
Who?
Salman Rushdie. All right.
Who?
Salman Rushdie. He's an author.
Oh.
Yeah, and he
he
was
wrote
at.
he wrote some heinous shit that was it was pretty anti-Muslim. It made a lot of people angry, and he's been on like hated for a while. But he's also a very famous novelist. So,
Yeah.
but he got stabbed. He's making a this is not Steve Martin. This is Salman Rushdie, not Steve Martin.
Yeah.
Steve
Steve
Who
Martin gets stabbed.
Who can forget Steve Martin's anti-Muslim rants, of course.
Yeah, he was speaking somewhere, and some guy rushed the stage and stabbed him a bunch. But anyway, no, sorry. Back to Steve Martin.
Yeah. He's going to finish up the show on Hulu, Only Murders in the Building, with Martin Short, Selena Gomez, and as soon as that's done, he's done. And just,
Wow,
I just like
okay.
my heart kind of broke a little bit because I'm not ready for him to leave.
Do you think he's leaving at a good time, or is he on his way out? Is he overstayed his welcome, or is he in his prime
Oh
still?
no!
What do you
I
think?
mean, God, no! I mean, like the dude's timeless. Like he's been doing it for so long. Like he's just one of those guys that you think he's never going to go away because he's always he's always on it. He's never lost it.
He's always been there, yeah.
Like off the top of my head, like it's not one of his more popular movies, but Sergeant Bilko.
I love Sergeant Bilko.
Sergeant Bilko, Roxanne, they're all great.
30 Rotten Scoundrels.
30 Rotten Scoundrels. The Jerk.
Bowfinger is a family favorite. It's one that my wife hasn't seen yet, but it's one my family and I quote so often. We're gonna have to like get her to watch it because it's such a sleeper. Anyone watching, if you haven't seen Bowfinger and you know anything about the movie industry, go watch it. It's pretty funny.
Father of the Bride is a family favorite
Father
of
of
mine.
the Bride.
One
I haven't seen the first Cheaper by the Dozen movie. I don't mind it.
I liked it.
Yeah.
Bonnie Hunt's hot.
It's pretty cute.
What was the movie? Him and Queen Latifah. It was like tearing down the house.
Bringing down the
Bringing
house.
down the house.
Yeah. That wasn't bad.
Eugene Levy.
Did you see The Spanish Prisoner?
Is that a movie title, or are you asking if I saw a guy?
No, it's a title called I'm pretty sure it's called The Spanish Prisoner. It's one of Steve Martin's few serious roles where he just did not play any comic at all. Let me double check that that's the name of the movie.
He was in a movie called it was Claire Danes. It was like called Shop Girl.
It might be. Yeah.
Where she was the lead and like she was having, it was like a romantic drama and she started dating the older guy and the older guy was Steve Martin and he was not funny at all.
No.
Like, he was like a serious guy. That was pretty good.
Yeah, so it is The Spanish Prisoner. It's starring this guy that's not Steve Martin. And he gets falsely accused of being like an undercover agent or something. I saw it 30 years ago or some shit. But and Steve Martin plays like this guy, this like agent that meets him that like kind of sets him up. So he's kind of the bad guy in it. It's really good.
Ooh.
Spoiler. But hey, it's the movie was made in goddamn, when is this? In 97. So,
like I said, Steve Martin's been doing this. He's been in the industry for 60 years.
Steve Martin has had gray hair for as long as I've been alive.
Yes.
Yeah, he has actually.
He's like he was born old, just like Morgan Freeman.
Yep, I still remember.
It was The Man with Two Brains.
Yeah.
That I think did he still have colored hair in that one?
I think he might have been Salt and Pepper because that was I want to say that was around the same time as My Blue Heaven.
Yeah.
The same couple years.
I have that on DVD and I haven't watched it yet. I've never seen My Blue Heaven. I with Rick Moranis, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
you could help all this stuff.
I haven't seen it yet, and so I'm excited to watch it. But oh my god, so many.
All I know is
Three Amigos. Come on.
Yeah.
All I know is in Father of the Bride 2, he has a midlife crisis and dyes his hair brown, and it's so uncomfortable.
It's so
that one scene.
Because
I'm like, that's not you. It'd be like, Mitch, if you dyed your hair blonde, I'd be like, that's not Mitch. Like, it's so... No, but I mean, like, because his hair has been gray
blonde.
For so long.
Gay, surfer boy blonde.
So, yeah, rest in peace, Steve Martin.
Retire in peace.
I remember being a kid, I think I was in junior high school, and I watched some documentary about Steve Martin, and it was one of those Dateline, following Steve Martin around. Turns out he was a poet even. He's like written a lot of, this is before people knew he knew how to play banjo and shit. But like in this documentary, he was like reading some of the poetry he wrote, and it's not dark, but it's like serious stuff. Like he's really like kind of an emotional guy too. And it's like, wow, that too, you're just all around, aren't you?
Most comedians are.
Is fantastic too.
Yeah.
I bet most comedians are pretty dark.
Which I do.
Anyway.
Wild and crazy guys.
Two wild and crazy guys.
I think he might hold the record for SNL appearances too.
Hosting, yes, he does.
That's what I mean.
Okay, and never actually on the.
I remember in the first when it first started airing in the first decade it was on, a lot of people thought he was a cast member. But he was just there so often because he liked dicking around with Dan Aykroyd and Belushi and Chase and all those guys that everyone thought he was a cast member and he wasn't.
Christopher Walken too got that sometimes. I mean, he hosted so many times people were like, I don't know.
And Walken does have a lot of notable, memorable sketches. So you remember him being on it.
Yeah.
Googly eyes.
The googly eyes. No, I remember who was it? I think it was who was it? There was some guy that was hosting SNL, and it was like his 10th time or something. And
Hanks.
No,
Hanks
it was someone. It was someone like. It was someone like Rob Schneider, even though he's been on the cast or something. But it was someone like that, someone of that level of fame. But he had hosted so many times. But they did an opening sketch where the ones who have done it the most, like, welcome him to the club and all that. And Steve Martin was kind of showing him around. And
that was Tom Hanks.
Oh, yeah.
That was Tom Hanks. I know. I remember
it was
that
Tom
bit.
Hanks.
That was
okay,
yeah, it was Tom
Hanks. Okay.
Because like I think Tom Hanks said something like,
The
he'd be like,
Four
well,
Timers Club.
yeah, and he'd be like, so like, thank you so much, Mr. Martin, and Steve Martin was like, Mr. Martin.
No, that bit, because Tom Hanks goes to shake his hand.
Yeah, that's
Steve
right.
Martin
That's right.
he looks at his hand and he's like, oh no. He does that like faux, like, I'm better than you kind of thing.
Yeah.
The only one who might be close to him in doing that is like Ryan Stiles or someone who just does that. Oh no.
No.
He's great. All right. Well, R.I.P. Steve Martin's career. In a good way, you know, he wasn't canceled. He quit. It's like,
Hey, there's still time. There's still time. He's not done yet.
oh, he's not even dead yet. Once he dies, all the shit's gonna come out.
Yep.
Yeah.
His wife's gonna be like, he beat me with a banjo every night.
What, really? He beat you with the banjo? No, he hung out by the bed and hit me with those beats every night. And
He was a wild and crazy guy.
That should be on his tombstone. Anyway.
Buried next to
Belushi.
yeah. No, wait, who did it with him? Who did the Wild and Crazy? Was it Dan Aykroyd?
No, it was that great.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look
Dan
at our
Aykroyd.
bulges.
Dan Aykroyd has my favorite in Sergeant Bilko. Dan Aykroyd has my favorite laugh in Sergeant Bilko. It's a quick little aside thing, but it's Dan Aykroyd plays like the colonel or whatever of the whole
base
base or
commander.
whatever.
Who's clueless.
Yeah, but there's this one little scene. It's a scene open. It's a cold open, and he's in his like Sunday garb with like a flower shirt, and he's watering his garden.
I like the nightlife. I like to boogie.
That's it.
Yep.
It's just a little like he's singing to himself a little bit, so it's like quiet and it's just off in the funniest joke, and that it gets me every time I think about it. It's just funny.
I want to say that was probably, I think Sergeant Bilko was one of Phil Hartman's last movies.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Well, Danny, we know what his last movie was.
Because we talked about it. Do you remember? There's a little
Danny, do you remember
called...
his last movie? Was a classic.
Was it Jingle All the Way?
It was Jingle All the Way.
Oh. Like, I would prefer to go out on Small Soldiers over Jingle All the Way.
I love Small Soldiers. You know what's awesome is my wife and I just watched, because it was one of my family classics, and because I'm showing her all the horse shit I was raised with. One of them was the Mike Myers movie, So I Married an Axe Murderer.
Love that movie. Love it.
Well, Phil Hartman has a cameo in it. He's the Alcatraz tour guide that used to be a prison guard, and so we're watching his scene, we're laughing, and like I think I paused it, and we were talking, and I was like, yeah, you know, Phil Hartman. It's kind of ironic that he's in a movie called So I Married an Axe Murderer, but didn't land. Okay, you know how Phil Hartman died, right?
Yep, a heart attack, right?
No, he got shot in the face and chest by his crazy wife.
Oh, that's right.
Really?
That's
Yeah.
right. I did forget.
I
about that.
always thought it was a heart attack.
That's what they want you to think. No, I'm just. Yeah, no.
The liberal news has been telling you this lie. No.
His wife, unfortunately, was very she had really mixed up, and she was in and out of rehab and addicted to a lot of stuff. And one night, she plugged him twice in the chest, once in the head, and that was it. While he was sleeping.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah.
Said she was good for him.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm
crazy.
reading about it.
But see, if you knew that, now you know that. Now I'll go back to my joke that I said
Now,
earlier.
yeah, okay,
kind
now.
of ironic that he's in a movie. Okay. Yeah. Well.
He was sleeping. Yeah, he was sleeping. Fatally shot him once between the eyes, once in the throat, and once in the upper chest with a 38.
Okay, so blah blah blah. Yeah, horrible. Imagine that. Like at the time when that happened, one of the funniest guys in his prime, still like Yeah, it is prime because he's still just slaying. He's doing House Guest, Jingle All the Way.
Well, you know what? Sorry, with one go. I interrupted you. I'm sorry.
No, I'm just trying to appreciate the perspective of the time. Like this guy, and then all of a sudden killed so horribly like that, just insane. But
yeah, I was gonna say like, and you really guys like that. I mean, we as a group are kind of different, but guys like that are really underappreciated. Because if you're a comedic actor, or even a serious actor, and you can make people hate you so much, like every role I remember him in, Sergeant Bilko, Jingle All the Way, he plays the guy that you fucking hate, and he plays it so well. And there's a certain talent to being so good at what you're doing. Like, have you seen
House Guest with Sinbad?
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
I mean,
it's been
not
a long time.
years,
Yeah.
but yes.
Okay, that's one I haven't seen in years, but I'll go back and rewatch it because Sinbad's awesome, and Phil Hartman plays his fake friend that has him over as the house guest. So
I actually have a really funny Sinbad story that I'll tell you guys after this, but yeah.
That was out of shit. Go for it.
I've actually met Sinbad at like the weirdest place you would never expect to meet Sinbad.
Were you teaching him economics?
I was not.
Okay.
I was on vacation. I was up at Lake Mojave. We used to go there and boat and all that stuff.
Love it.
And we get there one morning, and it's just piss and rain, howling wind, thunder, lightning, the whole thing.
Oof.
So we're just like waiting for the storm to blow through because the storms there, like in the middle of monsoon season, only lasts for like most 45 minutes and then they're gone. So we're there. We got there around 8 o'clock in the morning. By 9, everything was cleared up. But as soon as the storm blows out, everybody that was there getting ready for the day starts like heading out to their boats and coming out of the restaurant and all that. And I see this guy walking from one of the houseboats, like the rental houseboats, up to the shop. And I kind of do one of these.
Huh? What? Who?
I'm like, and I get my dad. I'm like, Dad, is it just me, or does that guy look like a very white Sinbad? And he's like, Son, that is not.
Son, that's Charles Barkley. Leave him alone. And
he goes, Danny, that's not a white Sinbad. That's Sinbad. And I'm like, what? He's like, yeah, the camera adds 10 shades. No.
Oh, I love it.
No, I was just like, holy shit, like that isn't bad. I was like, we passed each other on the docks going to and from our boats a couple of times, and one of the times it was just like, hey, I love your work. I think you're hilarious. I'm one of the people who actually didn't mind Jingle All the Way, and he chuckled. And
holy shit!
He said thank you. But apparently he was there. He rented a houseboat for his son and his friends. And they just went out, fishing and houseboating.
I heard a quote from Sinbad that I really love about him is that in the same vein that I like Steve Harvey is that he had some quote that says every time he does a special or does a movie or something like that, he does it as if his grandma's in the audience watching. Or it's that, or he invites his grandma to every special, so his grandma might be in the audience watching, kind of thing. So it's not whitewash clean, but it's cleanish. It's like if grandma's there, what can I get away with saying around grandma? I kind of like that.
Mm-hmm.
Mike, do you have a Sinbad story?
No, I'm just wondering why you lied to him.
Lied to who?
Because
Sinbad.
When you meet somebody, you're polite to them.
Right, I like your work. I actually was one of the ones who didn't mind Jingle All the Way.
Oh, brother.
I have you on record, Danny, ripping apart
fucking hate
Jingle
that
All the
movie.
Way.
Yeah.
How dare you lie to Sinbad?
I guess you can say that I sinned bad.
Boo.
All right, I'm gonna disconnect Danny.
All right.
Hey, Danny, what is Italy in the shape of?
A country?
Goodbye. Yeah, what's it in the shape of?
It's an amorphous blob.
That
Okay,
joke
fuck
got
you,
it went over my head earlier too.
Whatever.
I say the boot, and then you guys just kick me out.
Yeah. It's It's a very early 2000s
It's
joke.
hilarious.
Back in the Day of Defeat days.
Oh, Day of Defeat.
The good old days, man.
Speaking of Day of Defeat, logical fallacies.
Good transition. Good transition. Like it. Just,
I was gonna,
just
like-
butter, just so smooth.
I was gonna, like, I had a few, like, topics. I was like, oh, we could do, like, small, whatever. If we want to do a designated episode or something, whatever. But no, fuck it. Let's do it. I love it. But,
We've talked about certain, we've done hypotheticals, what ifs, etc. And so we thought we'd discuss a logical fallacy. We discussed it a couple weeks ago. We discussed it in the last episode. The straw man.
We often talk about, it's weird because we talk about talking with other people.
Mm-hmm.
It's really weird. And we like talk about how we often engage in an argument. What's a healthy way to go about it? What's a constructive way to go about it? And we touch on some of the terms, the argumentative fallacies, right? Is that, Danny, check my grammar there. Is that right? Argumentative?
Logical fallacies.
Logical
argumentative
fallacies,
Informal argument fallacy, whatever.
Yeah. Meta communication is kind of what we're doing now about it. Talking about talking.
So we thought, why don't we have a few episodes where we discuss the actual fallacies, so that way people who don't know what the fuck we're talking about, they know where we stand a little bit.
I don't think the internet's ready to see my fallacy yet.
No,
You underestimate the internet.
You need to shave
I need
a lot
to shave
more.
a lot, yeah.
Yeah.
100%.
It is a straw man fallacy.
Okay, that was earned.
Thank you. All right.
Redeemed yourself.
Thank you.
But yeah, Mike had mentioned today we're going to talk straw man. The straw man fallacy.
The good old straw man fallacy. Mitch, would you like to describe the straw man, or would you like me to?
Yeah, as per the Wikipedia entry,
That's not a source, Mitch.
it's a collection of
Fuck you,
source.
it is.
Yeah, it used to be an embarrassment. Now it's heavily regarded. But
That's an argument.
but what does it say here? Okay, the impression of refuting an argument, whereas the real subject of this argument was not addressed or refuted, but instead replacing with a false one. Okay, yeah. So someone presents you with an argument. The sky is blue, and the second person comes back with a setup that is similar to the argument, but not quite the same, and then proceeds to dispute and disprove that similar argument.
Yeah.
Basically setting up a straw man to be attacked and torn down really easily. Mm-hmm. There's a few different examples of this.
Yeah, I brought up an article with some examples. Yeah, it's pretty much you did the really long story of it, but like it's pretty much just misrepresenting your opponent's argument. The example I gave multiple times now about the mask argument, and again, I'm not taking a stance, just using it as an example, is a lot of people said when people are like we should wear masks, it'll help stop the spread of COVID, and a lot of opponents to that would say masks don't help, or I'm sorry, masks don't stop you from getting sick.
So
And
you're
that's-
skipping a step there. It's kind of you're skipping because they say, oh, so you're saying masks protect us. Well, if I wear a mask, it's not going to protect. So that it's that. So you're saying
Sure. But it's like
segment of it.
so yeah. But masks don't protect us. Blah blah blah. When in reality, the logic behind the mask is that it stops you from spreading your germs, not protecting you from other people's. So the idea when you say masks don't work, masks don't stop us from getting sick, you're now taking the argument, misrepresenting it, and like Mitch said, attacking the new argument, criticizing the new argument. And it happens like this article I read today, which I have up on my phone, gives examples of it. And it really happens even on a casual scale far too much, in my opinion. Like even in this one, the first one was if someone says, I like Chinese food more than pizza, then somebody, the person they're talking to says, oh, so you hate pizza. It's like that's not what was at all said. But now they took that statement and turned it into a whole new argument. Anyway.
What I've noticed is that I've seen the most examples of the straw man fallacy when I'm talking with people that I agree with. When we're not actually arguing with someone, they're arguing with the hypothetical person. Like, so-and-so would say this, but this and this and this, and this and this and this. And it's like, I see it more often rather than in in face to face, because I feel like if it were face to face, it'd be easy to catch it and say, well, no, that's not what I'm saying, kind of thing. But
and I think the problem with this one is that it's so easy to let it go and get caught up in it.
yeah,
To where
absolutely.
To where even, just to go back to the mask example, because it's an easy example, then I've been in this conversation where like someone says it doesn't stop you from getting sick. And so then you start to indulge that argument of like, does it though? Do you know? And it's like, that's not even the fucking point, but you get sucked into it so quickly.
Exactly.
That then
That's the point though. Like, that's what they want you. It's a bait and switch, essentially. It's like, now we're going to talk about this because now I've got you emotional, and now I can put this here, and then I can circle back to the original point when you're on your heels.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even think it's that conscious though. I don't think people do it with that intention. I don't know this for a fact, but I think sometimes people just do it when they don't necessarily have a direct argument to the thing at hand. So then they come up with this thing, not even consciously, just subconsciously, because it shifts it a little bit in their favor, and they don't have to actually address the issue. It's kind of like, it's not the same thing, but it's kind of like whataboutisms. You can't really defend your thing. So the whataboutism is a little bit more on the nose, like people, they are knowingly now changing the conversation. Yeah. But it is kind of in the same vein, because now it's like shifting the argument to where I can't address this, so I'm going to kind of subconsciously shift it to where now we can talk. Yeah.
There's the two most common forms of the straw man fallacy are oversimplifying or over exaggerating, and those that kind of example of people just like what you're talking about, not being able to grasp the complexity of the argument and making it super simple and something easy to argue against and burst the straw man to pieces. The mask argument is another example of the straw man where quotes, Wikipedia said, quoting someone out of context. And we see this a lot, especially with political commentators, where they take phrases, terms out of context. The whole accusing Trump of saying all the Mexicans are rapists is taking his quote out of context, and then they built up this whole argument about, well, Trump thinks all Mexicans are rapists, so let's get rid of this racist. And a million other political commentators, and they say things out of context. And what's the website that does is it Politico? Yeah, it might be Politico. That goes through, they basically monitor everything political all the time and go through and say this person that said this heinous shit and all that. But yeah, a lot of straw men in that website.
You can even
go on,
Danny, go.
You could even say it's happening right now. I can turn on Fox News and instead of talking about the issue, they'll point to something and say, here's the real issue. And it's so an example is when the leak from the Supreme Court happened. They weren't talking about the issue that they were going to overturn Roe v. Wade. They were talking about the leak.
Yeah, that I think is more.
I think
that might be a different fallacy because it's not quite.
I would say
it's more of an overt.
I would say it's more. I want to make sure that I don't get it wrong. I'd say it's more of a red herring.
Red herring. That's what I was going to say.
Okay.
Very similar though.
Similar, but not the same. Okay.
Intended to be misleading or distracting. That's what. That'd be more of a red herring, where it's not like you're misrepresenting an argument. You're now almost creating a new argument to distract from the other thing. Yeah.
Okay.
So the other most common, well, those are, in my opinion, the most common examples of of the straw man fallacies. Is the quotes out of context. I see it all the time, especially with political leaders. But the other one I thought was kind of fun. It was called the defender straw man, and this is when you're in an argument with someone. Let's say we're talking gun control. Me and Mike are debating gun control. I create this. Mike is in favor of more gun control. I'm against it. So what I do is I create this kind of scenario, this viewpoint where Mike represents the whole argument. He is the defender of the enforcing more gun control kind of thing. And then I refute him and I beat him in the argument. And then I go on to say, well, look, your defender couldn't defend the point, so the whole point is wrong. You know what I mean? It's that kind of, because the defender is bad, the whole argument is bad. It's the defender. It's another version of the straw man fallacy, because it's like, look at the straw, literally this guy that I destroyed. There goes the argument.
No, yeah, that is really, it's not necessarily a straw man when they do it, but it's funny, but it's kind of a pet peeve of mine. Every network does this shit. Fuck his name. Danny, Trevor Noah's guy who goes in the field.
Jordan
Klepper. He does this. Granted, I think it's funny, but he does it. There was a guy on Fox that would do this shit, the same thing. My point, they go on the street and they interview people, and what you see is the dumbest fucking people they talk to all day.
Right.
In reality, they probably talk to 100 people, and you see 5 to 10 of them.
Yeah.
So
I was just gonna say that the man on the street, because Will Witt does the same kind of thing. He'll interview people at universities and just get the dumbest fucking. And it's on the other side of it, where it's Trevor Noah. He's the right side to Trevor Noah.
No, sure. And I forgot the guy on Fox News who used to do it, but yeah, you talk to 100 people, and granted, it's funny. It's hilarious when it's presented. That's why, to defend Klepper, it's a comedy show. But when people use it politically, and you just show the dumbest fucking people, and it's like, see, this is them, and it's like, you're not probably showing everybody.
That's straw man.
So
fallacies.
It is, yeah, and I mean, it's funny. It's funny,
yeah.
But
yeah, I love it too. I could watch it. I guess I can't get into it too much, especially watching like the PragerU videos where Will Witt's interviewing people at universities, and they're like, these kids are just, they don't read, and I think it's funny because I think young people are dumb. I think people my age are dumb, but it's still funny to me because I can enjoy it. But I know that there's a bunch of people watching it that are just like, oh, this is what they believe. Can you believe that? Did you see that?
Yeah.
And it's like,
it would be like, we all, I think the three of us are all intelligent enough to where I'm not going to offend either of you, hopefully. But when you grew up and you were like in elementary school and you're doing the reading aloud and it's popcorn reading, and everyone knew in every class there were 2 or 3 kids that when they got called on, it was gonna be a while.
Today, Junior.
I wasn't one of them. I'm straight up, and I'm not. Yeah, I'm assuming neither. You guys were not either.
I hated those kids so much. It brought me down
because I always felt bad for them because like they called on it. They're like, Trevor. And you get to feel the energy just leave the classroom because it was going to be a hard 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Listening to this.
Looks like we're missing recess again.
I felt worse for the teachers because they had to pick everyone.
You have to go around the class. Yeah. So my point is, it'd be like if you were in the classroom and the principal walked in while that kid was reading and was like, oh, everyone in this class reads like that, and walks out. Even as a kid, I'd be like, no, wait, hold on, no. Let me read.
It'd be worse. No, but
that, and the straw man, it is, I'm not going to lie, I'm not going to be a hypocrite. I've been guilty of it. I think everybody has been guilty of it.
Me too, big time,
But when it's so obvious that, like, because I've gotten into, I'm not going to go into details, but I've gotten into it with people to where, like, and I'm kind of more keen enough now to identify it, to where I'm like, hey, I'm going to argue A. And he's like, oh, A, huh? What about B, C, D? And I'm like, no, A.
Right.
And he's like, B, C, D, E. I'm like, no, A. And they keep going on it, and they actually...
Well, what about A.5? Like, no, I didn't say A.5. I said A.
And it's interesting. So a lot of times when people get, not everyone, but a lot of times people get called on that. Like, no, hold on, those are. We can talk about those things, but right now we're talking about this.
Right.
People do get mad because I don't. When people, I'm not saying I don't. I'm not sure how you guys have taken philosophy when you're in college or whatever, but like when you do take it or you're aware of it, you're aware of it. And if you're not aware of some of these fallacies and you're called on it, you don't have the understanding to realize what's happening. So when someone says, no, we're not going to talk about that, it's a different argument, we're talking about this, all of a sudden it's like, no, it's the same argument, and they get mad because they think you're trying to like deflect, and it's
Right.
like no, and so it's really irritating, especially with this one.
Yeah.
Whereas red
I guess that
herrings,
was-
red herrings are a little more obvious. You're like, no, hold on, that's a distraction. Let's stay on topic. But straw mans are very hard, especially if someone
Very
doesn't
hard
understand
to discern,
it. Yeah.
especially when it's a context issue. Because you got to be like, no, go back. We'll go back farther. We'll go back even farther. Look at the whole thing. Well, if you consider when America was founded, then yeah. So, yeah, it's frustrating. But I think that's why I wanted to bring these up. And it's like, you know, we have fun talking about all this stuff, and I love the discussion. But at the same time, we can do another part of this, which is not necessarily educating people because we don't know shit, but more just like, hey, don't forget to look out for these things. Look out for these certain things. Look out for the straw mans. If you guys can identify them, if those of you listening are in an argument and you can identify the straw man fallacies when they come up, not just from the other people, but from yourself, most importantly, it'll be a much more constructive discussion.
Yeah, and I gotta say, not I don't want to get on a high horse, but like I remember in college, I took for my gen ed, I took a it was like critical thinking and argument. I forgot what it was actually called, but it was a critical thinking and argument class. And the class, one semester, literally changed the way I thought. Because now, like, things that you couldn't put your finger on, you're now like, oh, wait, okay, that's why I was getting frustrated that one time.
Was this in Vegas? Or was
this is in Vegas.
Like,
this is in Vegas.
Okay. Because I took a course similar to that at JP.
Well, it's a general ed course. I'm sure they're everywhere, yeah.
A guy named Charles Brown. It was billed as an English class. It was like English, like 1B or something like that at JP. And the dude just like opened my eyes, changed my major because of that. And I was just like, oh, so not only is this how you argue, but this is how you write.
That's pretty awesome because same here, same kind of like it was a philosophy class at Chafee as well. It was a philosophy class billed as critical thinking, and we covered the argument fallacies in that. The professor of that class, Dr. Kern, he made this really interesting claim. He said that before we got into the argumentative fallacies, he said if you look at it close enough, if you dissect an argument enough, there really is no way to make any argument without some form of one of the fallacies. It is like it was his claim was that it's impossible to make an argument without using one of the fallacies, which always stuck with me. I forgot all the fallacies, but I remember that.
Sure. Well, I think too when it comes to logical fallacies, it's kind of I know I have Danny. You guys to an extent you've done enough improv or at least improv training class to where they say like there's rules to improv. You don't reject, you don't do blah 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 blah. But if you're experienced enough and you're playing with someone who's experienced enough, you can bend the rules a little bit.
Yeah, Eddie talks about that all the time.
Yeah,
his classes there.
And so you can bend the rules a little bit if you're playing with the right people. And I feel with logical fallacies, it's kind of the same that if you understand them enough and you know how to use them, then you can kind of use them to make a point. Not that you're
more often you're that good, you can disguise them well enough that the other person.
There is that too, and I'll be completely honest. I am very good at that.
I've been guilty of that shit.
The episode never aired, but Danny, I worked your ass on the Die Hard debate by disguising logical fallacies. Just an FYI.
No, I know.
Knowingly.
Yeah, later that night, we're all lying in bed like, son of a bitch.
Wait a second, he was full of shit.
He fallacied me, guys. He fallacied me.
He fallacied me so hard.
So there was I'd like to, if you guys think of any other examples of pretty rampant straw mans, because I heard this claim, and I'd like to know what you think, because it's very applicable to us being white men in America. But the Black Lives Matter movement was largely regarded as a straw man argument, because if you remember, BLM started really with the hands up, don't shoot, the what's his name, Michael Brown shooting. When Michael Brown in oh my god, I forgot the town. What was the city that?
Is it Ohio?
Oh shit, forgot. Remember his name though. That's what's important. Anyway, doesn't matter.
Go on.
Black unarmed kid. Well, guy got shot by police, and some eyewitnesses said he was running away and got shot in the back. The coroner report said he was actually shot in the front because he was rushing a cop.
Oh, that one. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, everyone started coming out. You know, the NFL that year came out. Like, some of the teams were walking out with their hands up, don't shoot, hands up, don't shoot. It was a big thing. And that's when Black Lives Matter, the phrase, the hashtag, the whatever you want to call it, really started. And from what I've noticed was at that point. To the point that it's a political movement that it is now. Started around that time. And then, you know, you have George Floyd, and you have a few other cases, a lot of other cases, unfortunately, where that happens. And BLM has become the Channing argument. And it's one of the reasons why a lot of the more intellectual political people, more intellectual, which I know is pretty rare, quickly say, well, Black Lives Matter in of itself is a straw man, because no one is saying that black lives don't matter. We're talking about why is it that disproportionately black men are being shot by the police as opposed to white men. It has nothing to do with whether their lives mattered or not. There's like what you were talking about, Mike, about it being a more complicated issue. But people are oversimplifying it to being just racism. It's just that black lives don't matter, and that's why it's happening. So that's why BLM is sometimes regarded as a straw man fallacy. What do you guys think?
Danny, do you want to go, or you want me to?
Go ahead.
I'll go. So, first, I have never heard of it. I've heard good, solid criticisms of Black Lives Matter. I've never heard of it regarded as a straw man. But to that point, I think I could go that I could see what the point is trying to be made with that, but I think the argument, the Black Lives Matter movement was more about when you look up statistics and proportions that black people are just killed more often than white people by police officers. And unfortunately, and this is actually not just a black issue, a lot of people are killed unjustified by cops. That doesn't make me anti-cop. I want to make sure that's clear first and foremost. I'm pro-cop. But a lot of people are killed by cops without justification, and not a lot is done. So my understanding of Black Lives Matter was simply saying, like, a lot of black men are killed by police officers, and no one's talking about it at the time. So they're saying, we matter. Black lives matter. When you say it's a straw man because it's more complicated and they're narrowing it down to one thing, I could counter and say that's a straw man, that they're bringing up a point and you're deflecting and changing the conversation. So I'm not saying one way or another. I think by calling Black Lives Matter a straw man is in itself could be a straw man. Because even let's take it a step further, and I'm actually straw manning it right now, or I'm red herring it, and I'll admit that. I thought you were going to go, all lives matter is by definition a straw man. Because
they're taking the original argument.
Because when I say, hey, Mitch, I had a good day, it doesn't mean you didn't have a good day. It doesn't mean Danny didn't have a good day. It just means I had a good day. So when someone says Black Lives Matter, and the response is, wait, all lives matter. No one said all lives don't matter. All they said is Black Lives Matter. That's why I thought you were going with it.
Okay. No,
but
that's smart.
Yeah, but the original argument though, not to get off the original argument. The original argument, I mean, I will agree that there's a lot more to a lot of these killings than just race. I will agree with that. I think all these killings need to be taken care of case by case. Because I know the Michael Brown one, it took me a minute to remember it, but I remember that there was a lot of gray area of what happened. A lot of people, like as you said he was shot running. Some people said he was shot because he turned around and charged the cop. I do remember the coroner said that he was shot in the front. There was a lot of weird shit going on there where it's like, okay, hold on. There's a lot of issues going on. With, what was the kid's name? Trayvon Martin, who was killed by Zimmerman. Did I get the name right?
Yeah. Ron Zimmerman, yeah. Not Ron Zimmerman. What was his name? Yeah,
George?
Zimmerman.
It was Zimmerman.
George.
Yeah. So there was a lot to that. A lot of people were just like, it's racist, and a lot of people were like, that kid was a bad kid. But when you dove into it, there was a lot to it. So I understand the defense of Black Lives Matter oversimplifies it to being just about the race. I understand that argument.
Yeah.
But I think the part of the movement was more so not just about one singular thing, more about that there is a large amount of black people killed by police officers as opposed to which white people.
I mean, yeah, I do hear you, and I do agree that is the intent. that it's and this is why I fucking hate millennials to no end, is because they oversimplify shit and they make it, they don't think that what they're going to say is going to be taken literally, because it's the same shit with the defund the police. Okay, we can't just take money away from the police. And they're like, well, okay, obviously we don't mean defund the police. We mean more and more and more and more. But they hold on to this oversimplified sound bites that carry the message forward, and everyone is just supposed to assume or just know that it's more complicated than that. Here's a fact. Percentage-wise, more black, there's 15% of Americans are black, but somehow, I forget the exact stat, somehow that number is, the number of unarmed civilians killed by cops is way more than that 15%. So there's way more black men being killed by cops. Why is that? Well, it must be because of racism, it must be because Black Lives Don't Matter, so we're saying Black Lives Matter, which is how I perceived that whole movement started. All these black kids are getting killed by cops. It must be because of racism, because they're black.
Well, I think I mean, now we're getting off on the Black Lives Matter argument. I think that is in itself, with respect to an oversimplification of a movement. Because I don't get me wrong, there are definite criticisms I have of Black Lives Matter and their movement, but the beginning of it, I think it would be if there is 100 cases of killings. I'm making these numbers up now. 100 murders in the course of a year. 50 of them, 60 of them were white people. And these are police killings. Again, I'm making these numbers up. 60 of them are white people. Of those 60 cases, and let's say 10 of them are black people. So 60 versus 10. And of those 60 cases, 10 of them were justified killings because the white person attacked. Like a white person was violent and they shot him. Of the 10 black people who were killed, one of them was justified killing. So we take those percentages. 1 out of 6 of white people were killed justified. 1 out of 10 black people were killed justified. So you could take the numbers and say, wait a second, of the numbers of people killed by cops, 60 of them were white and only 10 were black. You guys, the numbers don't match, follow what you're saying. But then when you take percentages and you dive into it, 1 out of 6 white people were killed by cops. Justified kill. 1 out of 10 black people was justified. So when you break it down, but that's a whole nother. Now we're straw manning the initial argument.
I don't mean. Yeah, I'm sorry. I don't mean to derail. I've heard that as an example, and I believed it at the time. And you guys are kind of like, oh, okay, well maybe maybe not so much, but
I could see the thought. I could see the thought process. I think the thought process of Black Lives Matter being in itself a straw man.
Right. No, you're absolute. You are right that the All Lives Matter is very much a straw man as well. Is that
sure.
No? You're because. Yeah, anyway. Sorry, Danny, do you have anything else?
I mean, you guys kind of both hit it on the head. I am of the mind where Mike's kind of coming from, where it started out as like, nobody said Black Lives don't matter. But again, nobody really had to. The statistics kind of show that is the case. And that is what these people are trying to say. Based on the statistics. As far as straw manning, I mean, yeah, you guys kind of hit it on the head, whereas the All Lives Matter movement is also, it's probably the biggest straw man argument of our time here. Can you not do that? I'm talking.
Please.
Sorry, my body.
Fuck.
But yeah, I mean, you guys pretty much kind of hit all the points there. I was caught up in listening to the
I think I remember it was one of the political meme posts posted is it was responding to why BLM was met with such resistance from the conservative right and cops, specifically cops. Why it was met with so much resistance is because in the meme it had said this, because BLM is a straw man attack that we are offended by. You're just assuming that we just believe that, and so that's where I remember reading that, years back and thinking, okay, maybe. I mean, maybe that I could see a cop's point of view on that. It's that no, it's oversimplifying this as just racism, and yada yada yada. But it's like there's another point of view.
Well, so on. Let's. Well, Danny, I'll let you say your thing, and then I'll say my thing.
Yeah, I'm curious because the way I took that scenario, I took it as a challenge from BLM to police forces, saying, okay, if you feel this way, prove us wrong, and we'll shut up. But until you do that, and until the numbers even out or stop completely, we have a voice and we're going to use it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So hold on. Let's. I like this. Let's shift. Let's talk about Black Lives Matter. I think it's an interesting conversation. We all have different points of view. I actually like this. So, Mitch, in regard to what you said, I think, and this is very common. I wouldn't say it's a straw man. So now we're going off topic, but I like this conversation. When someone says Black Lives Matter, to me, I go, yeah, of course. Yeah, they do.
Yes, they do. Yes, correct.
So when someone, and it's not just Black Lives Matter, there's a lot of like places where this happens to where people almost, I don't know the right word for it, but it's like by saying Black Lives Matter, it's almost like an intrinsic to some people, a lot of people, obviously, they feel like it's an attack when it's not. And I wouldn't call it a straw man in that regard because I don't think they're not misrepresenting the argument. They're just not understanding it. To where, like, I remember I was talking to, I think it was my mom. I don't know. If someone said, hey, we're having a fundraiser for breast cancer. And then the person next to you, dad died of prostate cancer. And they got irritated or offended. They're like, breast cancer? What about prostate cancer? And it's like no one's saying that prostate cancer doesn't matter. We're just talking about breast cancer. But there is this weird phenomenon, and it's not just with this whole thing. It's a lot of cases where when someone tries to uplift this one thing, if you're not a part of it, you feel like they're attacking you. It happens a lot, especially with progressive movements, to where, not to get off topic, but it's on the topic kind of. A lot of people who were against gay marriage, for instance, it wasn't that they didn't like gays, that they were necessarily homophobic. It was just the fact that when someone said, hey, maybe these people should get married, go gays, because they're not gay and because they're not part of it, they felt like it was ostracizing them or attacking them in some way, which it's not, but they felt that way. And there's 100 examples. And that's where with Black Lives Matter, I think a lot of people felt attacked by it because it's like they're not hearing they feel like they're not represented in it, so they feel attacked by it. When that's
they're not getting their participation trophy.
Yeah, in a sense, and it happens all over the place. It's not just Black Lives Matter, but it's a weird thing.
I'm sorry, but I don't think that was the case
at
all.
Hit me,
at all. But it's with BLM, it was more accusatory. People didn't feel needed to say Black Lives Matter because to everyone else, it's assumed. Like what you said. Yes, they do. Correct. Why are you making a big deal of Black Lives Matter? Black Lives Matter. Yes, you're assuming. Why would you have to tell me that Black Lives Matter? Well, you must assume that I don't believe Black Lives Matter, so you need to tell me that Black Lives Matter. You're assuming that I don't think Black Lives Matter. You are assuming I'm racist. That's where a lot of that resistance comes
So let me ask you, if I came up to you after, you came over for a beer, we're all chilling, and I looked at you and I was like, Mitch, my life matters, right? Would you then think that I didn't think you thought my life mattered? Would you get on the defensive if I said, Mitch, my life matters? Honest question.
I'd have If I'd have questions, but I'd be like, yeah, you do.
Yeah, so
your life
same
matters.
thing. So what's someone says my life matters? Why is there suddenly an insecurity about them? You think they're attacking you? That's what I'm honestly genuinely asking. Like, I've never understood that. When I heard Black Lives Matter, I was like, yeah, they do. These people are saying it. Cool. Like, I don't.
It's more like if you said my life matters, yeah, you do, and then you made the party about the fact that your life matters, and a cake comes out and it said, hey, Mitch, Mike's life matters. And it's like, okay, no, yeah, I'm not saying that. And then the neighbors start coming over and they're saying, hey, God damn it, Mitchell, hey, you know Mike's life matters, right? Mike's life fucking matters. We painted it on the street outside his house. Just so you know, Mike's life matters. I'm like, what the fuck? I never, okay, what? Yes.
I imagine Michael Scott now.
It's like, well, your suggestions suggest otherwise. What are you talking about? Well, 9 times out of 10, when you insult someone, you're insulting Mike. Are you saying his life doesn't matter? Like, God damn it, But
Well, I don't know, Mitch. That sounds like an exaggeration. Perhaps you're straw manning. No, no, and I do understand that point. Just like we said, statistics showed that certain things, and so people just came out, and this is another topic that we talk about. Like you put it perfectly. Defund the police was an inflammatory fucking thing that they didn't really mean make the police go broke, but it was even Obama actually came out and criticized that phrase. He was like, that's a stupid phrase. I'm paraphrasing, but so perhaps Black Lives Matter could have been stated better, but I think the reason for the movement and everything, like, I have no problem with. Granted, that's not to say that there's bad faith actors within the movement. I would 100% agree with that. But
so to be clear, judging intent and judging what people are doing and what they truly believe, it's an honorable cause. If you think that you and your people are being persecuted, you have the right and you should stand up and defend yourselves. Absolutely. And I guess I'm agreeing with the part you said where maybe this was oversimplified to an easy-to-say chant that can be misheard by a lot of people.
And I'll concede that, yes.
So I guess that's mainly my point, and it's always my point. Is just okay. Think about the words you're saying before you say it, or think about how they're going to be heard, not just what you mean and what you're going to assume everyone knows.
How about this? If they came out and said Black Lives Matter 2.
Hey,
yeah,
Black Lives Matter as well.
As well, yeah, yeah.
Then everyone's inclusive.
Because I had this discussion with my mother, and it must be a generational thing, Mike. I don't know. But she went the route of, all lives matter. And I was just like, well, here's the thing, Mom. And I broke it down for her. It's like, these are people that have, for their whole lives have felt persecuted, have felt that cops are the enemy, that feel like they're dying more and more, based on the statistics. So when you hear Black Lives Matter, do you hear only Black Lives Matter? Or do you hear Black Lives Matter more? And she was like, I just hear Black Lives Matter. And so then I said, okay, would it be more helpful if they said Black Lives Matter too? Or Black Lives Matter as well? And she's like, yes, that would make more sense, because that would tell me that there's a problem and not just, only Black Lives Matter. And I was like, okay, we found some middle ground.
Yeah, of course. And I had this discussion with someone, and it's such a fucking ridiculous example. Going into it, I'm going to say ridiculous example. I already know Mitch's answer. Danny, do you know enough about The Office? Like, have you watched enough of it?
I want to say yes, but I don't know what you're going to bring up.
Have you watched what's the fuck, the Fun Run?
Yes.
The Fun Run episode. He hits Meredith's car, and she has rabies, and he does a run.
Yeah.
This is a fucking ridiculous example, but it connects.
Best description of the episode ever, by the way.
It connects. So I was talking to somebody about this. This is a guy at the bar who I know I've known for years, and we were chatting about it, and he was very much like against Black Lives Matter, etc. His argument, and I've heard this argument before, is they're making it about race. It's not about race. Racism isn't a big factor anymore. And so first of all, my thing is, I don't care what you want to protest. If you want to protest it, go do it. As long as you're not hurting anybody, I don't give a fuck what you're protesting. Cool. So that being said, I actually cited this episode. The reason being was I put it as an example. I was like, this episode, Michael Scott was wanting to do this fun run to raise awareness and to try to find a cure for rabies, when rabies has already been cured. That was part of the joke in the episode. And so I was like, so with that in mind, similarly, even if, in this hypothetical, racism is not a big deal anymore, it's not here, it's not a thing, but we agree it's bad. And he's like, yeah. And I was like, so even if these people are wrong, would you agree that they're at least fighting for a positive thing? Even if they're wrong, even if it's already cured, would you agree that, would you concede that they're at least championing a positive thing?
At least it's not negative.
Yeah, like they're not saying fuck white people, fuck like this. You're at least can we concede, agree that they're at least championing a positive thing? And he was like, okay, yeah, I can see that. And I was like, okay, minus the bad faith actors, which I will acknowledge there were some and still are. Minus them, what's the issue then? Just let them play then. If that's like Michael Scott, let him play. And he did kind of have a moment like, oh yeah, I guess it's true. And then of course he came back with like what about the people who are doing this and that? And I was like, no, and then we just kind of.
Well, what about the Jews, Mike? What about the Jews?
What Office episode deals with the Muslims? No,
the IT guy.
It's a Mindy Kaling episode. I know that one.
The IT guy episode. I love that.
There's an episode where the guy he's actually Sikh, right? And he shows up,
Sheik,
but he's walking up with he's Sikh and he has a turban on his head and he walks up and turns out anyway. I wanted to bring up another point about BLM because I realize I catch myself doing this all the time.
Yeah.
And I think everyone does in some way. I have a bad habit. It was actually an ex-girlfriend that pointed it out about me. It's very constructive. It's a very constructive thing, and she pointed it out about me because we were discussing at the time representation of women in the Oscars and how many women were nominated for being directors and stuff. But anyway, we were having this argument. And we're talking about it, and I'm in the debate. And about near the end, she points out, "Look, Mitchell, you're assuming everyone thinks the same way you do." When I think of subjects like race and Black Lives Matter and stuff, I believe that things like age, where you grew up, gender, things like that, have way more to do with you as a person, whereas race, the tone of your skin, is as inconsequential as to who you are. It's just, you can go out in the sun and get a slightly darker tan. That's about it. You could be born taller, shorter. The color of your skin means nothing to me. What matters to me is who you are, and that's great. Not everyone thinks like you, though. It's like that's the whole point that BLM is making. So when I hear the points made to me, Black Lives Matter, the resistance we were talking about earlier, the kind of pushback that they got was from that. Of course, Black Lives Matter. Of course. Why would you even bring that up? Of course, I agree with you. I'm insulted that you need to point that out to me because I've always believed that. There's the failure to acknowledge the fact that there's a lot of people out there that don't think that way.
And they acknowledge that there are statistics that show that race does matter, unfortunately.
Exactly.
Unfortunately. I think it's awful, but...
Yeah. So it's that thing of where, like, oh my God, I just assume everyone thinks and acts the same way as I do. Well, no. That's not the case.
No. Trust me, I've changed my mind, and I've been opened my eyes about a lot of things over the years. Like, I'm 35 now. I look like I'm 50, but I'm 35. And... oh God, I have another story. I'm saving that one though, about my age. But no, even like from when I was 25 and I thought I got it all figured out till now, just philosophically and worldview. And no, I think it's I like having, so here's what I'm going to say. And maybe unless you guys disagree, I'm not going to pull it, Eddie. We could button on this, but
Closing thoughts.
I thoroughly enjoy these conversations because I don't think anyone in this conversation right now was a bad faith actor. I thought we were all making honest arguments. Danny?
It was an easy $200, man. Just kidding.
I was like, wait, who's getting money? We're getting paid?
Damn it.
No, but I want to say, like, I to the audience who might think like that we're gotten tense, like, no, I thought this was productive and it was good faith conversation because I know I went on a rant 2 weeks ago. I think Danny was on it, where I was talking about bad faith arguments and bad faith conversations, and I think I dig this shit. This is the reason why I wanted to start a podcast to begin with, was to have this kind of fucking cool conversation.
We all kind of agreed at jump we weren't going to get into the real serious stuff, at least initially, and then the more people.
Yeah, well,
maybe
even
later
this,
we get into more, but
because I know we went off topic from the straw man.
Fuck you guys, I'm out. Bye.
The thumb, I like it.
We're talking abortion next. Like what?
No, but I think I want to make this point because to me it's so important. I think Mitch, you and I, when we first were conceptualizing this, we were at the brewery, if you remember, and we were kind of chatting. I think Danny or Eddie came and joined us later, and that's one of the things we had talked about. I'm getting up on my soapbox right now, but I'm happy. I liked this conversation, so I'm getting on my soapbox. I like this shit, and I dig it. It's the reason why I wanted to start a podcast was because if I tried having this conversation on Facebook, it would have been fucking wildfires after 3 comments. And so I liked this, and I just want to say there needs to be more of this, and I liked it. I just want to say
I love it. And what I'm hoping for most right now is the people listening, and that everyone listening to this is getting very frustrated with one of us because they're saying shit they completely disagree with.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping that they listen to the end of this, and I hope that they know, hold on, how can these guys still be friends? Well, we're not. We're just coworkers. So, no. No, but that's what I keep thinking about. Is like the people listening. Are they getting frustrated? It's like, oh, make this point, make that point, whatever. Leave it in the comments, and we can joke.
100%. 100%. No, 100%.
Seriously, put it in the comments. We'll read that shit. We'll address it.
Oh, I'm afraid of another Facebook comment war going on what? Hey, whatever gets us views. I don't give a shit.
Do we have
if
DMs?
It ranks the views
shoot us, like slide into our DMs. Put it there. If something in this conversation made you think something, obviously not the most horrible thing in the world, but if this made you have a clear, concise, productive thought, I'd love to hear about it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
If your thought is to
don't.
I was gonna say, if your thought is, well, let me tell you something about black people, I'm gonna ask you not to comment. But
yeah. I was gonna say, leave a comment. Don't make it a straw man. Don't make it a red herring. See if you can make a comment or an argument in the comments without meeting one of the fallacies. Let's see. Yeah.
Hashtag fake philosophy.
That's your assignment. That's your assignment, philosophers. Your homework. Go ahead, make your argument, but make it about the argument. Yeah. Mm-hmm. We need to establish what the argument is first, I guess. But.
And then, of course,
Black Lives Matter.
Of course, at the end of the day,
who says,
no lives matter. But
I mean, that is a very Rick Sanchez way of looking at it.
So hold on. On that note, it's an often very cynical, kind of funny way to kind of just let's. I'm done talking about it. Let's end it on a joke and be funny about it. So it might have been Peterson that was talking about it because he was quoting some other philosopher, but he was saying
Jordan Peterson.
The fact, yeah. Peter. No, that's not his name. Pete Davidson. No. He was talking about the minuteness of human life. The fact that even just in the span of the state you live in, how small of an impact you really make. Apply that to the universal scale. Billions or millions of years the universe has been around, and you're there for a little blip, and you're so small, and you're whatever. And it's meant to think, oh, wow, really, nothing really matters. But if you look around you, look around at all the other lives around you, they matter just as little. Then in a sense, we all matter just as much. It's another way to look at it. Rather than being cynical, be like, it doesn't matter, we're all going to die anyway. It's like, you know what? I matter very little. Everyone else around me matters very little. Therefore, we all matter the same amount, a lot, just the same amount. But
that's actually a really funny thing to say.
Thank you.
I mean, like for Peterson to say that, and Jordan Peterson's a guy that I kind of have a lot of disdain for. I don't really buy into his stuff.
But he does have some gems every now and then. I don't like him either, but he has his gems.
He does.
His whole philosophy is on people helping themselves and making themselves better. How can you not?
But for him to say that, like, how minute we are, that nobody matters, then why the fuck should I be listening to you?
Well, that was his point, is that he took a core belief and expanded on it and says, this is what some believe, but if this is true, then the opposite is true too. That, yeah, we don't matter very much, but so does everyone, so we all matter. That's the point he ultimately was making.
It's that whole,
everyone matters.
Everybody's a weirdo freak except you, which makes you a weirdo freak.
I mean, yeah.
Was that a quote?
I don't think
that's actually a quote. That's an Ask a Ninja quote.
Okay.
Oh, nice.
Ask a Ninja, I missed that guy.
I was gonna guess Counting Crows.
But, all right. Here's a fun anecdote to go out on. I was talking to a guy. This is actually a true story. I'm not just making this up as a. You
say that every goddamn story, dude.
Because a lot of people make shit up. I don't. I tell the truth. No, I was talking.
But God, you say it at every story. Now I'm doubting you.
Well, I'm consistent.
You have a complex. Did you used to make shit up all the time? You have like
sometimes.
a complex on this.
I made up a few stories.
Okay.
All
right.
No, I was talking about this guy and the whole Kaepernick taking the knee thing. That was what we were talking about. And this guy was like, "I'm so fucking sick of Kaepernick," and I was like, "Oh God, here we go." Like, here we go. And he's like, "I'm so fucking sick of Kaepernick taking this goddamn knee and getting all this attention." And I was like, "All right, like what's going on?" He's like, "Oh no, hold on." He's like, "I don't mind Black Lives Matter. I'm for Black Lives Matter. I'm for all that shit. This guy sucks as a quarterback. He's second string, and now he wants to do something." and I laughed because I was like, no matter where you sit on the issue, that's fucking funny.
That's fucking funny, yeah. I remember them talking about that on the radio when that first was coming. And everyone was like, "Wait, who?"
Yeah, it was. Granted, he was kind of half joking, but he's like, this guy was a star for like 3 years, and now he's fucking riding the bench, so he's sitting on it during the anthem. Fucking asshole! Like, you could have done this.
Do you remember the first national anthem that he didn't take a knee? He stayed sitting at the bench, and I remember the footage of it. I was in Colorado at the time watching it, and I remember seeing the footage of it, and I remember thinking, looks to me like he didn't notice it was happening, and he just kind of was oblivious.
he was kind of doing this whole like.
Yeah, exactly.
Back
and then when they interviewed about it afterwards, he was like, "Oh shit, because what's going on? Police, yeah, the police, man." And then 2 months later, he's like, "Fuck."
Well, you know what? So here's actually very heavy conversation. Here's a positive note to go on. Not a funny one, but a positive one regarding all this shit.
Is this a true story?
This is a true story. Not my story, by the way. So
you might have said this before.
I didn't say this before. So Kaepernick, because I didn't know this at first, and this is actually it's actually a nice story. So Kaepernick, I actually kind of with you where maybe he didn't even know what the fuck he was doing at first. But so he started just sitting on the bench, and even I was kind of irritated by it. Like, dude, really? But so the story went that he met with the guy's name is eluding me.
The Navy SEAL.
Yes, the Navy SEAL. Yep. I forgot that the Navy SEAL played ball, or was he just the guy who?
I think he was just there as a guest or something.
Okay, yeah. But so this Navy SEAL was very much also irritated by what Kaepernick was doing. Somehow they got together, him and Kaepernick, and they talked. And from what this is coming from the Navy SEAL's mouth, he said, I addressed my issues with him sitting during the national anthem. He told me his issues regarding cops and black lives and blah, 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 blah. And we came to an accord. I understood him. He understood me. And so it was the Navy SEAL who said, hey, man, look it. I can respect what you're doing, but sitting on the bench is really disrespectful. In the military, when one of our brothers goes down, we take a knee out of respect. How about you, like, don't sit on the bench anymore. How about you take a knee? And I guess Kaepernick was like, oh, wow. That's not a bad approach. And so that's when Kaepernick stopped sitting on the bench and he started taking a knee instead.
Wow.
Was because instead of, and granted, I'm not one of these fucking nationalist guys, but it is kind of, sitting on the bench during, like, come on. But so that's when he talked to this Navy SEAL. They came to an accord, and based on the Navy SEAL's suggestion, I think he said, if you believe the country is wounded, take a knee in respect for the nation. It was something like that.
I gotta say, if this is true,
it is true. It is true.
That's fucking blowing me up right now. That's fucking blowing me up. That's like realigning my point of view on it, because I did not know that.
No, and granted, like I said, I will 100% agree with anyone when he was sitting on the bench during that shit. I will agree. Fuck that. But so yeah, he met with this guy, and that's when he started taking a knee. Was because he met with this Navy SEAL and got a different perspective on it. And I was like, that's awesome.
Mostly just the fact, like what you're talking about, two honest people having a good faith conversation and trying to find the most constructive way to go about it. I love that.
Yeah.
So yeah, everyone listening, don't comment, or don't argue in the comments, I should say. Don't argue in the comments, but go and talk with people. Talk with people and come from a good point of view. And yeah.
Yeah, and be honest.
It's what it's all about.
All right, we're going long. Fuck, we gotta get the fuck out of here! Ah! Love you, Eddie. Love you, Eddie.
The fire's shooting at us!
All right. Any last thoughts, or are we just getting out of here?
No, fuck it. I'm done. I'm hot.
Yeah, other notes? No, I'm good.
Let's get out of here.
Oh, wait, no. I'm sorry. Shit, there was one I really liked. I was going to say.
Do it.
I'm sorry. It's worth it. I'm sorry though. It was also in the Wikipedia entry, and I really liked it, and I wanted to bring it up because I never heard this term before, and I really like it. It is the opposite of the straw man fallacy. It's called steel manning. What you do is when you're arguing with someone, let's say Mike, no, not Mike, Danny. Let's say I'm arguing with Danny.
Okay.
What are we arguing about?
Dick size.
Danny and I are arguing about BLM.
Okay.
And he's very pro. I'm very anti. I guess you could say not pro. That's, no. An example.
Danny's saying Black Lives Matter. I'm saying they don't. Moving on. I'm fucking around.
Did I pick the worst example ever?
No, just the worst. It was just. I got what you're saying. It was funny phrasing. Go on.
Let's do something a little less intense and a little less heated. Vanilla ice cream is the greatest flavor of ice cream.
No. Chocolate is the best. Let's say you're saying chocolate is the best flavor of ice cream. Rather than straw manning, the opposite effect would be I would look at your argument and start helping you build the strongest argument without any fallacies, without any contradictions or anything. Help you give the best argument to me and then arguing that point. Basically building you up to be a harder opponent. And then if I win, or if I can still combat that argument, how does that not make you not only a winner, but a stronger winner, even more so? And so it was very interesting. It's called steel manning.
So is that, I wouldn't even consider that a fallacy.
No, it's not. That's what I'm saying.
Okay,
it's the opposite side.
So that would almost be the equivalent if let's say Danny and I we're planning to fight each other, and I'm actually helping Danny work out.
You spent a month to train me.
Yeah, no. So I'm helping Danny work out. I'm getting him the right nutrition. I'm like, here, I'll help you work out, and then we get in the ring and I knock him out.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
I've never heard that phrase before.
I haven't either. Thank you, Wikipedia. But it was I kind of love it. So if Danny and I were discussing BLM, and I started suggesting, look at these statistics. 15% of Americans are black, but they somehow account for 30% of the unarmed police deaths, right? I mean, how is it that we've only freed slaves 200 years and we expect them to suddenly be on the same playing field as whites in America? How is that? I start giving him all these strong arguments, non-fallacy arguments,
and then there comes the but.
Not even the but we could say, okay, so that's where we cover. All right, well, let's start talking about that. First, let's talk about this, and then
that's interesting because I'm aware of the concept. I feel like I may, not about serious shit, but like other shit. When I'm Danny, when we're a certain friend of ours, Whistles that we call him, I feel like we do that to him a lot.
All the time. All the time.
To Corey, Mitch. Corey. We do that to Corey all the time.
I think I've met Corey.
We do that to him all the time. We'll agree with him for 10 minutes, and then all of a sudden take 30 seconds to crush him. Steel manning.
I can think of a real example that we've used in this show is when we were talking about gun control, and because I do this all the time when I talk gun control, is I'll bring up examples of how gun control works. And it was that one law that was passed in the 90s that required the waiting period. And ever since then, gun violence has gone down. So I'll bring up examples of the opposition and build them up. So that way we have a good, solid fight. And if I could beat that,
I like that concept.
I know it's not about winning and losing, but it's for the sake of constructive conversation. It's a lot more productive.
No, and that this is probably the longest episode we've done so far. Anyway, that's fine.
You're welcome.
And but no, that's actually really interesting because that's like you said when you first brought it up. I thought it was like a negative, but it is a positive. If you're like, no, let me give you all your good talking points because I want you to have these talking points. So then I'm going to refute it later. It also
very plays into what you talk about, how you practice or you have your contingencies for arguments. You think of the opposition's arguments and what best argument they'd have for you, so that way you can be better in your arguments or more prepared in your arguments.
Yeah, steel manning.
The steel man.
I like that. I might have to
I do too. Man of steel.
Wiki that myself.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm sorry. It was going long, but it was that one little point I had it written down. I was like, oh, they're probably gonna love this. So
No, that's awesome. I know the concept. I just never heard of it like named before and actually like codified. That's cool.
Like it. All right.
On that note,
hour and 30 minutes. Yeah, we'll get out of here. So.
All right, Danny. Anything last words? Danny gets the last word.
It's past my bedtime.